The WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I've never been in the space station. But if I were to speak to somebody in the space station, then I would have a better understanding of what it's like in the space station. And I've never been in the heart of Israel and Palestine, but I've spoken to people who've done both. I've spoken to Palestinians, and I've spoken to Israelis, and I've spoken to people like our next guest. In fact, we've spoken to Miko Peled before. And many of the things he said to us in the interview we did in the past, he was on to talk about his book, The General's Son. You might remember that. In fact, I have it streaming right now, the cover. I mean, really gives you an insight as to the heart of the people who could make a real big difference if it weren't for the people who are bent on hurting each other. Miko is an Israeli peace activist. He's the son of Israeli General Madi Peled, and I may be mispronouncing his father's name wrong, mispronouncing it. He's an inspirational speaker promoting justice, democracy, and equal rights for Palestinians and Israelis. That's a breath of fresh air. And he does have the book called The General's Son, but he wants to talk to us about Donald Trump's visit to the Mideast this past week. Good morning, Miko. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's afternoon here. I'm actually in Palestine right now. I'm in Hebron.
Yeah, and how is it over there? What does it feel like right now?
Well, it's on the one hand, when you sit and with people and you talk, of course, it's very nice. But when you look at the reality surrounding, the reality here and the people in power, it's very depressing. It's very, very sad.
Oh my God!
The reality here is beyond belief. The settlers, the extreme-most element of Jews exist here and operate here in a way that could only be described as apartheid, only probably worse than apartheid has ever been.
Really?
It's really quite terrible, quite depressing, yes.
Is it unrealistic for us as Americans to believe that our president can make a difference?
I think it's completely unrealistic to think that the president could make a difference. And I think what's interesting here is when Trump left after being here for this, whatever it was, day and a half, everybody on the Israeli side sighed a breath of relief that Trump did not bring any deal, any proposal that would bring any change whatsoever. The big accomplishment, the victory of Netanyahu, the prime minister, is that Trump basically embraced the reality here, and embraced the fact that Israel can and does everything it wants, with no restrictions financially, no restrictions in terms of arms sales, and a complete diplomatic and political blanket from the United States.
Is it true what we hear that Palestine doesn't even recognize Israel as a state?
Well, it's a little bit of a funny thing. Palestine has been occupied by this thing that is called Israel for 69 years. So to expect that Palestinians would welcome it, embrace it, and recognize it is a little strange. Now, recognize is a funny word. I mean, recognize as what? Currently, Israel is an occupying power, and it has been for 69 years. Palestinians live under a whole different variety of laws depending on where Israel is and where they live. So Israel has placed different laws on Palestinians depending on where they are geographically, which, like I said, it's an apartheid state. So to recognize Israel as such would be a terrible thing. The Palestinian Liberation Organization did try in 1988 to recognize the state of Israel and engage in peace talks, but that proved to be a disaster for the Palestinians because it only strengthened Israeli control over their lives. So I think it would be. I think it's a bit strange to expect that Palestinians would recognize or embrace the existence of the state that has kicked them out of their homes, taken their land, taken their water, and forces them to live as people under oppression, under occupation.
We've spoken to quite a few people who were born in the place that is now called Israel. Before it was Israel, they often refer to themselves as Palestinians living in Israel. Do you feel the same way? Well, you're not in Israel right now, but you were born in Israel, correct?
Yes, I was born in the part of Palestine. Look, again, it's all a question of who you talk to. Israelis see the entire country as Israel because it's all occupied. I mean, there's not a single part of Palestine that is not occupied by Israel. And if you look at Israeli maps in school books, geography books, weather maps, travel maps, it's all called Israel. There is no differentiation. But the reality is that it's all occupied Palestine, too. And so this occupation that has been imposed on the Palestinians, imposed on Palestine, had given itself the name Israel, and now it's Israel. So I was born in Jerusalem before 1967, and of course that was considered Israel, but only by Israel. Nobody else around the world has recognized any part of Jerusalem to be part of Israel, because according to international law, all of Jerusalem is not a part of Israel, which is why, the issue with the embassy, moving the embassy, is such a big issue. There are no embassies in Jerusalem because no one recognized Jerusalem as a state, as part of the state of Israel. So, yes, I was born as an Israeli in this, sphere of the privilege where the roads are clean and nice and paved and it's all very safe and we have all the water that we want and it's nice and clean. And right now I'm the part of the country which is Hebron, which is predominantly Palestinian Arab, and where Palestinians live, in like oppressed people live. They don't have a right to travel. They don't have a right to express themselves. They are being terrorized by the Israeli army and by the settlers on a regular basis.
Your dad was a general in the Israeli army, correct?
My dad was a general. He was a young officer in 1948 when Israel was established, and he remained as an officer. And in 1967, he was one of the generals who planned and then commanded this, what is considered the victory of 1967, yes.
So, what do you hope to see, and what kind of message do you want to deliver on the radio today?
Well, what I hope to see, and I think the most important message for people to hear, is first of all that the existence of the State of Israel is the problem, because it is an occupation. The reality is that you have about 6 million Israelis who are Jews. You have about a little over 6 million Palestinians who live here. Now, they can live together in peace, but not in the political reality that is today, where there is this thing called the State of Israel, which controls everybody's lives and affords me privileges that they do not afford Palestinians. Now, I'm sitting here, and there are 3 other Palestinians sitting with me. 3 Palestinians sitting with me. They have different types of ID, and they live under different types of laws, and they're completely different from the laws under which I live. So, for example, I can get in my car and go to Jerusalem. They cannot. My being here in this particular spot is actually contravenes Israeli law, because Israeli law says that Jews cannot come to this part of the country because it's dangerous and I could be kidnapped or killed or murdered by Palestinians. So there's this image that Palestinians are violent and Israel is peace-loving and so forth. This is not true. Israel is a violent, brutal regime. It's an apartheid regime. It's a very racist state. And what we need to aspire to is to see a real democracy emerge with equal rights, and the state of Israel no longer being the state of Israel, but being the state of all of its people. And then the people have to decide how they want to name it or what they want to call it. But this is all occupied Palestine.
Your opinions obviously are shared by a lot of people and disagreed with by a lot of people as well. And it illustrates for us, listening to what you say, it illustrates for us why there's unrest over there. I mean, we really can see it just from the words you shared with us, Miko. Well, stay safe. Thank you for being on the air with us today and sharing that with us, and giving us some insight into what it was like actually with our president there. It sounds like it was more of a photo op than anything else, is what it sounds like.
It was photo op on steroids, absolutely. There's no substance whatsoever.
Miko Peled, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. British investigators looking into Monday's terror bombing in Manchester, angry with their U.S. counterparts over leaking intelligence.
The officials here are furious with U.S. law enforcement.